and start the live stream. You can start when you're ready.
To this cabinet meeting for Newcastle Borough Council. Welcome to cabinet members and officers in the room, and welcome to anybody that's joining us online this evening. Got Councillor Andy Fear, who's portfolio holder for strategic planning. I've got Councillor Jill Heatham, who's portfolio holder for community safety and wellbeing, and Councillor Stephen Sweeney, deputy leader, and also Councillor Jill Waring, portfolio holder for leisure, culture and heritage. And I'm council leader Simon Tagg. I believe we've got apologies from Trevor Johnson, not here, so we'll note those as item number 1, and then we'll move to item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest for items on the agenda? Nobody's indicating. We've got the minutes of the last meeting, which is our previous meeting on the 6th of September 2022. Can we agree those as a correct record? Okay, and then we're a one-item agenda tonight as a special cabinet meeting, which is a local plan update, and this is going to be introduced by Councillor Andy Fear, our portfolio holder for strategic planning. Andy.
Thank you very much, Simon. So yes, this is obviously an important item. That's why we've got our special meeting. And at last full council meeting, we had reference to the council plan, and I think there was general approbation of the council plan. The local plan in many ways sort of underpins that process. We need both of these things to be successful in our borough. So what we're going to do this evening is look at the next stage of taking the draft local plan forward. And there are a series of recommendations here, which I'm going to speak to now and hopefully persuade my colleagues are a good idea. So the first one is, before we progress with the local plan, we do need to decide on housing growth requirements. Otherwise, all our figures and calculations documentation won't work out. And the recommendation here is to go for the nationally set national standard methodology, which is talking about some 7,000 homes. That I think is right. It's a realistic target. It's a responsible target. It will allow us to control growth, but obviously we also want growth because we want jobs and opportunity in the borough. Also, I think it reflects well on the first stage of consultation we had, where there was quite a clear message that this is the sort of growth that the community wants. So I would commend to colleagues the idea that we go for the national standard for our figures, and we do need to decide something on that, because otherwise we can't make the calculations to take the rest of the development forward. The document in front of you does note the progress made so far with the local plan. So I refer you in particular to section 1.6, get the numbers the right way around, to 1.8. And also, I think in particular, 2.1, showing that the very hard work that our team of officers have done already on this. You can see there on page 11 of your documentation, a very large number of things which have already been done. Nevertheless, the law requires us to do more, and we want a robust information base to go forward with so that our plan cannot be challenged, and therefore there is more to do as of yet. Also, of course, and again, I refer you to 2.4 and 2.5 in the plan, there is the potential for new legislation to have to be taken into account as we go along, these government investment zones and such like. Unfortunately, at the moment, they've been drafted out in general terms. We don't know how that's going to potentially affect the borough. It may not do at all, but obviously we've got to bear in mind, we want to get the best for our community out of all this, that we may have to do some fancy footwork when they come along. Maybe not, but I think we do need to take that on board as we go along. So what we need to do next is to work on documentation and then bring forward a series of proposals for the community. So the first thing we need to do is to make sure that we are progressing in a timely fashion. We're going to have a series of regular meetings about that, and we're going to have a timeline with some milestones on there to make sure that we can see how we're going along, and if things start to go wrong, we can put them right and address those issues. Then, of course, we will have a consultation. Now, last time round, I think, and certainly the scrutiny committee agreed, we had a good consultation. This one, I think, will generate more interest because the British are practical people, not an abstract people. Last time it was about general principles. This time the proposals will be very firmly about concrete areas. So I think that will generate more interest. What is proposed, and I think this is right, is to have the same broad suite of methods of consultation that we had last time. So obviously there'll be online stuff. Last time there was a little bit of a wobble at the very beginning of this, but now we've seen that wobble, so that's been addressed. We should be going into this nice and smoothly. Also, of course, we're going to have some face-to-face meetings for people, and again, we will nuance that to make sure that those meetings in particular are held in areas which are going to be most affected by our proposals. And of course, for those who don't like computers, and let's not patronize the old, my mother, who's in her mid-80s, is using computers all the time. There are young people who don't like them as well, though, that there will always be an opportunity to put in written submissions as there was last time. And here, I think I can't stress enough, obviously, we want everyone to contribute to this, to get as many people as possible. So I think it's incumbent on all of us as councillors, regardless of our political colours, to make people, urge people to engage in this process. And also, I think it's incumbent on us to stamp on any of the rumours that sadly went round last time, that you couldn't put in paper submissions and such like. That sort of wrecking tactic, actually, those people are the people who will really wreck our environment, because without a local plan, we will not have controlled growth. We will not have control of the process. It will become uncontrolled. So, we should be very, very firm and say those people putting out those false messages are the real enemies of Newcastle-under-Lyme at the end of the day. As you can see as well, what we've done, as we did last time, is we're proposing that there is a period of consultation which is longer than the legally required period. So the law says you must consult for 6 weeks. We're saying we're going to consult for 8 weeks. That, of course, if you think about it another way, is pretty much 2 months. It's a fairly large period of time, and we are aiming to go out for consultation in the spring of next year. And that, I think, is all I want to say at the moment, but obviously I'm more than happy to field questions, take comments from colleagues.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you for a full introduction of the item. I think it's really important that you started off with that commitment to the growth figure, and that's that 7,000 houses over the planned period. I think there was a lot of press coverage of the strategic options and quoting 9,500 houses, pushing up to 10,000. They were the other options that we were looking at, but we've chosen what I think most people in the consultation went for, which was option 1, which is that government standard methodology. I think it's also worth going back to the joint local plan, which was heading up to 13,000 houses in that one, putting a lot of pressure on our green space. I think that's the key for me, is that we've changed the way we think about our green spaces, and also the way we think about our local environment, and also the climate issues as well, and having to get to net zero and tree planting have all come up since we looked at the joint local plan and decided to move away from it to do our borough local plan. And I think we're set fair not only to have growth, which is what we require, as you said, Andy, also not only in jobs and houses, but also we're protecting our green spaces, those 60 plus. It's 60 plus now, because more are being put in all the time for tree planting and other environmental measures. But something also has to give, doesn't it? We can't not build houses, and we can't not have an employment site. So we've got to choose what we think is the best for the development of Newcastle over the next till 2040. And I think 350 homes per year is that mean sort of target which the government set, and that's what every councillor's got to adhere to, or go further, which a lot of councils do, but we're not going to do that. And I think that you're quite right to say the next consultation is the important one. It's the one where people can actually see the the maps and the plans and the sites. And I think we'll get a lot of feedback, which again, as we've taken on board from the strategic options, we'll certainly look to take on board as much as we can while keeping our overall philosophy I've just outlined, and you have, Andy, about that growth where appropriate while protecting our green spaces. So I think it's an exciting time, and I think you're quite right again, Andy, to say a longer consultation than is required, and also all of those visits out in the community that our officers did for the strategic options we will do again, and all of the online options, and also all of the paper responses can be received. So I think it's a way to get to where we want to be, and that is that local plan that protects the borough from unwanted housing development. So I completely endorse all the recommendations you put forward, Andy, and opening up to other questions. Steve.
It's not really a question, because I think Andy was give a very full introduction to it. But the things that jumped out at me is, and first of all, we crack on with the thing now. We're going. But if we're going to do it, we do it properly and in a timely fashion. I think there's a saying with joiners, isn't there? Measure twice, cut once, or something. I think so. If you're going to do it, get it done spot on. Another big thing is in getting people to engage in the process. We want people to put their responses in. Then if there are some scurrilous sort of rumors going around, we can say no, it's not true. And of course, you can't run away from this. You can't hide from it. This is going to happen. And if you don't engage with it, then it takes out of our hands, and you get central government imposing on us what they want, and we lose all control of it. So please engage, and please tune in. And let's, for want of a better saying, make it happen. Thank you.
Any other comments from Jill? No, Andy, before we move to the recommendations.
Thanks very much, Simon. Yes, I endorse what Stephen says. I mean, be an eagle, not an ostrich. Engage with the thing. Don't ignore it. I do think this is, as you said as well, Simon, a realistic and responsible set of proposals. So we do need growth. We do need jobs. There's no point people having the nice countryside if they're starving. People need jobs. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that the best parts of our borough, our nicest parts, are preserved in precisely that way. And this allows us to take control of that process. Consultation measures, I hope we had a good consultation last time. We had a broad spectrum of means of consultation. I think our officers did an excellent job last time round of producing a plan which was readable and comprehensible. And I'm very keen on comprehensible English. So we're going to make sure that next time round, once again, when the public see this, they're going to be able to read it through and understand what is sitting there. But again, I've no more to say, really. I simply commend this set of recommendations to the Cabinet.
And just to put it into perspective what other councils are doing, most of the councils across Staffordshire now are really looking at their local plans and are restarting or are actually behind us. I believe Stoke has paused theirs now for their election period. So we've got a date when we want to adopt our local plan, which is 2024. And this timescale you've starting with this decision today over the growth figure is sets us on that course to have a local plan in place by the end of 2024 at the latest. And the recommendations we've got before us, which Andy touched on earlier, is that we note the housing requirement for the borough based on the nationally set government standard methodology, which is 7,000 homes over the 20-year period, 350 dwellings per annum. We note the progress made on the local plan that Andy has outlined, and then we delegate to the Executive Director for Development and Growth, in consultation with Andy as the portfolio 2-1, publish the updated local development scheme, and to finalise the public consultation arrangements in all documents for the draft local plan publication. And then that Cabinet approves a period of 8-week public consultation, commencing no later than spring 2023 on the draft local plan and the publication of the accompanying sustainability appraisal scoping report. And then finally receives a future report summarising the findings of that next consultation progress. Do we all agree? Thank you for that. That's great. Come back to my agenda, or Steve's even, is next item is item 5, urgent business. We don't have any. And item 6 is disclosure of exempt information. We don't have any. Attendance at Cabinet meetings had no notification of that, so no questions from the public or councillors. So I call this meeting to a close. Thank you.